Hey crafty cuties, it's time to make a really easy junk journal today. This is what we're going to be creating, and you do not have to sew in any pages. All you're going to need is envelopes, glue, scissors, your normal office supplies, and then any type of scrapbook paper or different book pages that you want to use to decorate. Or it would be really fun to maybe coffee dye or ink dye your envelopes instead of using craft paper. That might be something fun to do in the future here. Anyways, here we go. So I have two different sizes here, and unfortunately when I bought this pack here, they're all glued down. The flaps are like glued down together. And so it got me thinking that I could use these to create a journal, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So if you have envelopes that you want to reuse, like that you got in the mail, and your flaps would be glued down as well, this will be a great project for you. And then I'll also show you how you're going to create this journal if you do have the flaps. Either way, it's really pretty simple. So today I'm going to start off using this size right here, and that is, it's kind of like a traveler's notebook size actually, but it's 4 1/8 by 9 1/2. So let's get started. First of all, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a little flap, because you do need a flap of some sort to have this be made into a journal. And so what we're gonna do is, let me go ahead and I'm just gonna start from the beginning. So let's say you had got this in the mail, and the top's gonna be, I wish I had a letter opener. That would make this a little easier, but that's okay.
I'm just gonna cut this open, so. Now, of course, if you have, this doesn't have to be perfect either. Now, of course, if you have envelopes that are not obviously sealed together, like I said, I will show you real quick how you will do that.
So what we need to do, since we need a flap, you want to make sure if you have like a little edge sticking up, you're going to actually go ahead and glue that down. So like I said, we need to actually have a flap for this journal to work. And so what I did was I actually took some scrap paper. I want it to be the same width as your envelope. It's a 9 1/2, 9 1/2 across, and then I just chose, it's about 2 inches tall. And so what you're gonna do, whatever size you have here of your flap, you're just gonna fold that in half. And obviously this is much easier if you don't need to create the faux flap, but also it'd be kind of nice to use up envelopes that you have saved. Now I'm just going to go ahead and cut this at an angle, just because I think it just goes on a little bit easier. And then you're going to take one side and you're going to glue that just to the back of the envelope. So you're just gonna glue it right down here. You know what, I did those, I cut these at a weird angle, but that's okay. It really doesn't matter. We're just creating a flap, and the flap's not really going to be seen at all anyways. So yeah, I really cut that at the wrong angle, but that's okay. So now you have your flap, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and you're gonna do that to all of your envelopes, and I'm actually going to have 6 envelopes for this project today. Okay, I'm just gluing my 6th little flap on. So now our envelopes are ready to go and get made into our journal. So all right, to assemble our journal, you're gonna go ahead and lay one envelope down. You want the opening pointing to your right, and you want the flap on the bottom. The way that we construct this is really important, so I'm going to kind of go slow with this, but as we go along I will speed up. You're going to take your second envelope. Now for this one, you want your opening to be pointing to your left, so now we have the openings pointing towards each other, but the flap is on the top, and you're going to take this flap and actually insert it into this envelope right here, just up to that crease, so that when you fold this over like so, you're gonna have another opening pointing to your right. So you're gonna take your second envelope. So again, you want the opening pointing towards each other. So this one will point to the left, but the flap's on top. And again, you're gonna insert in here. Now, if you want, you can go ahead and glue these flaps down to the inside right now as we go, or you can come back to it and glue later. I don't know why, but I like to kind of get it constructed first. So then you can see that you'll have that lined up like so, and then you can fold over. I kind of like to just get everything as perfect as it can be. You do want everything to be lined up really perfect, so that's kind of why I like to wait to glue. Okay, so we have, remember that you're always going to be inserting your flap to the very top envelope, okay? So then we're gonna take another one, and you can do as many envelopes as you want, but the more that you have, the, I guess kind of like less tidy, I think that it kind of looks. I wouldn't do more than 10. So there we have that one. We're gonna fold it over. And the last one that we do is gonna be a little bit different, so stick with me here. Okay, so we have the opening pointing to the left, and we're gonna take and remember the flap is on top here. So we're gonna take that flap and insert it. And it does look a little bit different when we use the other envelopes that have the triangle. So that's why I wanted to show you both ways. Open that up. So we're gonna stick that inside like so. Going to fold it over. And then for the last one, you're actually going to have, okay, so you still want the openings pointing each other, but we're gonna have, this time we're gonna have the flap on the bottom. It kind of closes everything up, and you're gonna go ahead, and again, you're still gonna insert into that very top envelope. But then you'll see when you fold over this way, you don't have another opening. So this flap that we have out here, this is from the very first envelope, as you can see. And that is actually just going to wrap around like so. But don't forget that you will want to go ahead and glue all of these in place. So like I said, I like to kind of perfect everything and go back and glue everything into place before gluing this last flap on, okay? So then you can kind of see that once it's all glued, of course, you're gonna have your pages here. And since these are envelopes, we can cut slits at the top so they can become a pocket, or you can have a side pocket, or they can just be more kind of durable. And of course, we're going to decorate these, but that is basically the whole construction of the envelope. So I'm going to glue these, but quickly let me show you what it's going to look like with a smaller, and then we can go ahead and get started with decorating. I'm just going to do 5 here because you really just need to see it once. So let's see. Okay, so you're gonna basically open up your envelope. We're gonna take another one, and again, we want the openings to be towards each other, but the flaps are gonna be opposite. So I have this flap on top, this one on bottom, if you can see. And so then you would just stick it in just like we did, but I just think it looks a little bit different. And you'll just kind of get that in place, and then you're gonna fold it over. And then see, this is the opening of the second envelope that we just put in. And so again, you're going to continue doing this, stack as many as you want. I'll just do one more for the sake of this journal, or just to kind of show you, I guess. And so then when you get to your very last envelope, you're going to turn it over, and now this flap's going to be on the bottom. The openings are still pointed towards each other. And then again, you would go back and glue those all in place, and then you would take this flap that's from the very bottom one, and you would wrap that around and then glue it into place. And then again, you have your journal here that's ready to be decorated. So I'm not going to actually be decorating this one right here. It is the same size as that right there, but we're going to move back onto this one. So now I'm going to go ahead and glue everything into place. I like to just start with the very back last page, and then just pull it back out. So you can kind of see now that you saw me construct it, that really if you want to just glue as you go, that might be easier for you, but I always like to just kind of map out my work. Now I'm using wet glue, and I just glued on the, that's okay. I should have put glue on the bottom of the flap, but it's totally fine. And just make sure everything's as lined up, as perfect as you can get it. And then once I have that glued, I'm just gonna kind of open that up. And again, so I do like to put glue on the bottom instead, but it's not gonna really matter that much, honestly. We just want to get it glued down to the inside of the envelopes. So So I'm going to continue gluing these and then we can get decorated. I think a glue stick would also work really well for this. And you will notice when you're pulling this out, so you're pulling basically everything else out. So, okay. Once everything's glued into place, you're going to take that first flap, which goes around the entire, I guess, it's kind of spine. And I really just kind of fold that around. You don't really need to worry about scoring it or anything like that, but if you want to play around with that idea, you can as well. And I'm just going to add a generous amount of glue, and this will be our spine that wraps around all of the envelopes. Okay, there we go. And you'll see that, you know, this isn't perfect. They're not perfectly lined up, but it's totally fine. Okay. So now everything's glued into place. And what I like to do next is cover in paper. Now let me show you something really quick. You can decide, like I said, if you want to cut these into pockets, you can cut like on the top and have a top pocket, but just keep in mind that all of the envelopes that are going to be on, I think, the left side, they're going to have that opening where we just inserted the flaps. So you can either glue that down or you can just keep it a flap. Or sorry, you can keep it a pocket. I decide as I go along because now all I'm gonna do is cover all the pages and that's not going to mess up or alter any of the flaps. Okay, I decided I'm going to use this paper pad, Woodland and Wings, and I'm just gonna go ahead and cut out a bunch of pages just off camera. I'm just gonna cut them all down to size. And if you also did 6 envelopes, then you're going to need 12 papers to cover. So that'll be perfect. So I'm just gonna keep cutting these down. Now that I had brought up the idea of, instead of using paper, using like coffee dyeing or inking up the envelopes, that sounds super fun. And I'm kind of wanting to do that soon, but I do have kind of a lot of projects lined up right now. So it will definitely be on my to-do list. I'm gonna just cut 2 of these, but I will be right back after I cut everything down. As you're cutting, definitely hold on to the little scraps because that's going to make for some really easy pockets and things like that. All right, so I'm going to start covering all of the pages. But I'm gonna do the cover last because I do wanna put a little bit more focus on that. So we're just gonna take our pages and I'm not really gonna think too much about this. I'm just gonna go ahead and glue them down. I did also grab some Sari silk ribbon. I'm gonna use those as some closures and I'll show you how I do that as well. Okay. So I'll finish covering these pages and then we can go back to the cover. So when you do get to the very back page, keep in mind that if you want to add some kind of a closure with some silk ribbon like this, or, you know, any kind of lace or anything like that, you'll want to go ahead and I'm just going to glue this down first before you place your paper over the very back, and you'll do this to the front as well, but I'm waiting to go back to that. Let's see, I think I'll just go ahead. I can cut another one of these if I want, but I'll have this be my back. Now I like to just make sure that I add a generous amount of glue on top where the closures is also, just to make sure that everything stays in place. I don't know why I grabbed the green, but I like it. It's a little bit different, something that I wouldn't normally go for. Okay, so we're back to the cover now. Everything is covered with paper, but for the front, I kind of had something in mind where I'd use a bunch of different prints because I have all these little strips that are left over, and almost like collaging, but I'm just gonna go for it actually. Kind of like collaging, but a little bit, I guess, neater. Okay, so we're gonna go like that. I'm just gonna take like a bunch of different prints, and I want that kind of jagged look right there. You can make some a little bit bigger than others. And then, yeah, this is fun. Something I wouldn't normally think to do. Oops. Okay, we can do a couple smaller ones as well. I really like that kind of golden yellow color. So now what do I want to do? Maybe I'll go ahead and have these mushrooms down at the bottom. Oops. But I kind of want this bottom edge to be jagged, but I don't want to rip off the mushrooms per se. Okay, and then we can just go ahead and glue these into place. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so I'm just gonna go from the bottom here. I'm just gonna glue everything into place. Actually, you know what? As I go along, I'm gonna ink up, and I'm just gonna use this blue color because it's just one of my favorites. You don't really need to ink up all edges because one edge will be glued under, but that's okay. And then we can't forget to add our closure as well. I should just go ahead and, so I'm gonna go like this. Just gonna flip them all over so I remember what order. Then I can go ahead and glue down the closure so I don't forget. I've done that many times. You just kind of figure out where you want it to be. Then we'll glue everything into place. And this is kind of where the fun starts, and you can, you know, really decorate your journal however you want. I am going to show you a few fun, quick little decorating ideas. I probably won't decorate the whole journal because I want to leave that up to you. But I will give you a few ideas to make this look complete, but still not spend a ton of time. Okay, so I don't know why I keep inking up the top because that's getting hidden. That's okay. This one's actually a little too wide. So I hope that you guys enjoy this project. I had been planning to film this video for a really long time, and I just kept having other things to film. Okay, we are almost to the top, and then I have one little kind of final idea that I want to do for this cover. So place that there, and then I want to have the bird visible, so might need to trim it just a little bit more. Okay. Shoot, I might need to make this a part 2 video. You know what? I think I might have to do that because this is starting to get to be very long. Okay, there we go. So I'm gonna finish the cover, and I might have to do the page ideas in the next video, guys. Let's see here. These little labels came in the paper pack, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and use this top one right here. I think the cover looks really good how it is, but just wanted something a little bit extra. And I'm going to keep this pretty simple, but I kind of want to break this up, and I'm going to take a little bit of this sparkly kind of tool and just place that right behind, and then I'm going to glue right through because the glue will get through the tool there. So, and I'm just going to go ahead and stick this down, I think kind of like, yeah, I wouldn't normally put a label like in the middle like that, but I kind of like it. A little bit different there. All right.